So, when it comes to aliens, there are three ways that a really advanced civilization can travel around the universe. One is the fastest method, which is interdimensional movement. And then there's the second method, something called the Dyson sphere. The Dyson sphere is a giant orb that is constructed around a star by a super advanced civilization. And the reason they do this is to encase all of the solar energy from that star into this artificial sphere and live on the inside of that sphere's surface. So on the inside of it, like a planet in reverse, basically. Instead of living on the outside of a planet, you're on the inside of it. And you're going to be harnessing a lot of power from that star. It's going to be a little baby star. It's going to be like a little dwarf star. And with that power, it is believed that you can travel through the universe very slowly. You will not have a lot of ability to go quickly if you use a Dyson sphere, because you can't go faster than the speed of light. So you're going to be this giant star-sized thing moving through space pretty slow. It could take you hundreds of years to reach your destination, if not thousands. So the civilization responsible for building this thing would have to be very advanced indeed, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of attitude. They couldn't have wars with each other inside of this thing. They couldn't have resource scarcity. They couldn't have logistical issues of any kind. Instead, they all got to tough it out together and live in this kind of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood utopia inside this thing, and never have any serious conflicts or fights of any kind. Not very feasible. And then there's the third method of transportation, and that is everyone's favorite, warp travel. And that's where you warp space around the ship while the ship travels at a slower speed than the speed of light. But now that space is being brought towards and around the ship and past it, the ship ends up arriving at its destination in a pretty short amount of time, versus if it didn't do that. So these are the methods that you have if you're a really high-tech, super advanced civilization. If you're not any of those things, you're stuck on your small planet where everything is pretty much there for you if you need to live, as it has been there for your ancestors of ages past. And you also have some other smaller, less habitable planets around you that you can mine or that you can visit for whatever weird, fairly pointless reason that you could ever think of. Out of these three methods you have to go traveling around the universe, let's work out the probable likelihood that you would actually be able to do any of this, and also the likelihood that there are civilizations out there that have done this, and that they have visited us or have visited other places and have treated everybody in those worlds just fine. Because if it was so available, you would have trillions of species going between planets, going through between galaxies. If there are that many forms of intelligent life out there, if there are that many solar systems out there, we would have been cultivated by now. And we have no proof that we've been cultivated or colonized by anybody else. So this presents us with a lot of questions. If you have ancient texts going back thousands and thousands of years, right? We can see patterns in nature. We can see patterns in history. What we have to do is say, even from our little microscopic subjective vantage point, we have to build those patterns into a network of relationships and say, this stuff is objectively true. And that disturbs a lot of people, because you'd rather just hear me say, if you're an agnostic or atheist or just non-committal kind of person, that we have no proof of this stuff, it's all faith. But we have a lot of really weird testimonies that are so strangely interdependent on each other that it would be pretty silly to just write it all off and say that it's some kind of hocus pocus. For instance, there are multiple dimensions of matter. We know this through new studies that have come out in the field of quantum physics that show that particles, the same particle that gets tagged will suddenly phase out of existence and then reappear in a different location, as though it floated through a different dimension of matter and then emerged out the other side and is now in a different place from our point of view. And if we go back in history, all the way back into the medieval era, there is a gigantic copy of the Bible called the Giga Codex, the giant book. And in this Giga Codex, there is an illuminated manuscript, what we would call an illustration today, of a series of bars. And they're positioned like levels, each one on top of the next. And the lower you go, the darker the color gets. And the higher you go, the lighter the color gets. And in the middle, you have vegetation and some other things in there that look kind of earthy. We are told by physicists and others that there are 10 levels, 10 dimensions of matter that we know of. Guess how many dimensions are present in this illustration in the Giga Codex? 10. That's a little weird. So, I'm not saying proof specifically based on that one thing, but I am saying evidence. That there is evidence of insight into this idea of multiple dimensions. So, given all this, Dyson spheres are pretty silly. Warp drive is less silly, but a bit silly. And interdimensional travel is also a bit silly. The most likely answer to these claims about aliens and UFOs and strange phenomena that speak to us of extraterrestrial life fall into two categories. Number one, experimental aircraft. And number two, demons. Why would demons take the form of aliens? Well, the best reason I can think of is when people started to develop science fiction ideas and created these ideas about a much better, more powerful race of beings that exist light years away and travel to us and have all kinds of wacky adventures with us. Demons started to notice that. How did demons notice that? Well, first of all, let's presuppose that you believe in demons. So you believe that there are these creatures that are looking to undermine you and ruin your life and drag you to hell with them so that they can turn you into a slave and use you for whatever purpose they see fit, and to try to send you on missions to go up to the up above, our place, okay, and try to mess around with people here so that it weakens their faith and they can be dragged down to hell as well and make the ranks grow down below. And they have this network of people that willingly allow themselves to be obsessed with or infested by demons. Satan worshippers, kids with Ouija boards, anybody that's interested in the occult, people that run occult bookstores, people who are into New Age practices, open the door to allow demonic stuff into their lives, okay? When you've got all these different groups, that network operates here on Earth so that demons have access to information as it happens here. Think of it as demons are under the water, and every so often there's like a little pocket of light that shines through the deep into the depths. They take their little periscope, and the periscope is a human soul on Earth, and they push it up and they can look around and see what's going on right on the surface. And that's what demons are all about. They're all about gathering information. They're all about gathering information or repackaging old information to make it seem brand new for you so that they get you hooked. And then you think that you're getting some kind of divine insight when really you're just talking to some jerk that hates you. And if the demons find out that there's these books you've been reading, what are these, science fiction? Interesting. You know, early part of the 20th century, late 19th century, seances are a big deal. Yeah, they might find out, maybe tapping into, poking around in your mind a little bit after you let them in during a seance, that you read a lot of science fiction and you're interested in the worlds beyond. And so they start to leverage that. And they say, we are an advanced tribe from some other place, and we have technology to bring to you. They are just trying to exploit humanity and use them as a resource in order to gain more power, so that they can try to assault God in the end, which is their ultimate goal. They think they can do it because they think they know better than God, because they're given the free will to decide if they wanted to remain with him or if they wanted to come down to earth and start tinkering with us and eventually become the ruling force. because they didn't think that God should be allowing human souls to come back into heaven. That a creature created on earth has no business being in the heavenly kingdom. And God said, oh, okay, go down there and make your choice, make your bed. And so they fell, and there was a war first, and then they fell, and they've been wandering around and causing problems for us. And with the crucifixion of Christ, they're in hell now, and they're troubling us less than they once did. But now people are trying to re-invite them back into the world again and creating a nice network for them to tap into. So, what is the likelihood that an alien race loves us so much that they would want to share that technology with us? And that might sound a little bit glib. You've probably heard before that, the biggest proof that there's intelligent life out there is that it hasn't contacted us yet. And there's a certain kernel of truth to that. I don't think that we're really in a position to accept really powerful stuff of that kind yet. I think that would create more inequalities and a lack of fairness in the world if one group of people had access to that kind of thing. But what if there was a group of supposedly powerful, but not really powerful, but just very knowledge-rich jerks that didn't like you and were interested in giving you some insight that they once had access to back when they were in a heavenly place where they knew everything that God knew at that time? Well, you know something? That might seem an awful lot like an alien species trying to give me the advantage and give me access to technologies that could improve my life and the lives of those around me. And I wouldn't trust them for 1 second. I wouldn't trust them for 1 millisecond if they showed up. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to brag about how wise I am. I'm just saying that given who I am, given my life, given your life, given the lives of the people that are not in charge, I'm certainly not in charge. Do you honestly think that some kind of alien power wants to bestow on you something that's going to make your life better? I doubt it. I doubt it. I wouldn't go anywhere near a claim like that. A claim like that has nothing to do with me. And if it does have something to do with me, I'm getting the hell out of there. When it comes to aliens, it's very unlikely that they are going to be traveling around in Dyson spheres. And if you're reading about weird alien races that look like elves, that have blue eyes and really pale skin, that love sharing information with us, I would go to the subject of demons anytime before I even entertained the subject of those people being actual extraterrestrial life forms who just want what's best for me. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and God bless you all. I'm Chris Woodward. Enjoy. Thank you.